Win with all creatures and Niv Mizzet? Well, that's what we're going to try to do here in Casual Historic. Basically, we're using Umri the Collector, which means all our cards, apart from our lands, have to share a type. So naturally, we're going all creatures, and like the recently rebuilt Commander deck version of this, we're going heavily into Lord of the Rings for the Ring Temperature mechanic. So we are playing for the Ring Temperature package Frodo Baggins, Galadriel of Lothlorien. We are playing Smeagol and Bilbo. Aside from that, we have just a good card slew around. Obviously, we have Niv Mizzet. We have Aragorn to try and get additional value, try to turn our creature spells into other stuff. We have Bloodbraid Elf for a double cascade for fun. Reflector Mage to bounce, maybe clear the way for some blockers. Fjordin to give us some sneaky double strike, which is very solid. We do have a good slew of humans in the deck. Then we have Pippin for protection. Triumphant Adventurer here, trying out the venture into the dungeon. Great thing with this is we can throw onto him the ring. You can make him the ring temperature, makes it harder to block. We also have Kaifriel of Baldur's Gate for that reason as well. So we're just going to use dungeon mechanics, evasive creatures, and the ring temperature to try and win a game. Now if that doesn't work out, our sideboard is basically abusing the fact that we can use creatures with adventures on them. There's no good multicolored adventures, so we've got Brazen Borrower for bounce, Murderous Rider for removal, Order of Midnight to buy back, Bone Crusher for just because it's too damn good, and Realm Cloak Giant if we need that. We'll try to avoid using these because we want to purely win with creatures, but we'll give it a go and see how the deck comes out. So see you in the games. Alright, all creatures. Can we win? We keep an interesting opening 7, but we do go into Frodo and Pippin here. Our opponent's playing Yorion, so we're unsure yet, so we'll get Frodo rolling with the ring. Our goal is to get the ring maxed out as quickly as possible here. Our opponent Ghost Scorches their own Mist Bridge. It's an indestructible land, so it technically fixes them. It's a very interesting choice here. The Assassin's Trophy Frodo. So we'll just grab a basic here, and we are missing blue, so we'll get blue on the field. Well, we have blue, but we're missing an untapped blue. We'll throw down Kairiri. Get another Triumph down. We can hold on to this Reflector Mage to bounce what they ever use for. So we're going with Kairiri here, make him unblockable. Middle card, we'll put a land to the bottom, we got enough lands. Let's get Pippin on the field, great protection there. They drop a Felidar Retreat, so we'll cycle our Trio. We find Niv Mizzet, which is perfect, so let's throw down Niv Mizzet. Reload our hand. We get another Pippin here, because I'm pretty sure they're going to get rid of this. And Pippin shows his strength here. I didn't realise he had Vigilance until I was playing here. We don't need another Kairiri, so we'll put him down. Pass the turn. Our opponent plays a land, makes their 2-2. So they appear to be some kind of landfall deck. They go for a Void Rend here, but we can Pippin protection from instants, Niv survives. We go for a Galadriel into a Bilbo. Now we can put the ring on Kyreli. And we find no lands, which seems to be a going theme for this deck. I considered for a while, but I want Frodo to get the final ring levels up. So we're going with Niv and Kairiri here. The reason I give Kairiri the ring is he's 1 power, which makes him way tougher to block, and he can use his unblockable trigger on a different creature. But we are going to get an Aragorn, hopefully, on the field now. Opponent gets another cat. And ultimately concedes. This was a good showing for our deck. Now, I have no idea, but I do think if they're going to be enchantment heavy landfall, that maybe the Brazen Borrowers will be quite good. So I take out a Fëanor here. And I go back and forth on what I want, so I choose to put 1 Brazen Borrower in, and we'll just try it like that and see how it goes. Talking from the future of knowing how these games go, the first thing I need to do is again invest in the mana base, or look at the mana base, sorry. So, they open with a Leyline of Sanctity, so it's an interesting choice. We'll shock in and get a Triumphant Adventurer going, so we can start venturing through a dungeon. We find our second Niv, which is always interesting. So let's just get in here. Go for the Lost Mines. start with a scry. We'll keep a land on the top because we want to get up to 5 lands. However, I realised that black and red are both on the same triome, so we can't cast Niv here with the lands we have. So we're going to hope for Kairiri, and we can also get a treasure from the Venture. They drop the Felidar Retreat. So I consider my options here. And after a while I decided I'm going to go in, just attack with everything to get the triggers. I will make the treasure so I can cast Niv Mizzet next turn. I could cast it this turn, but I'm going to decide, a third Niv Mizzet, we'll put him to the bottom. I'm going to decide to use Petty Theft here to bounce the Felidar Retreat, put him back a turn and buy some time. Our opponent plays another Ghost Quarter but doesn't replay their land, so they must have some kind of option for this. So let's use Niv Mizzet here, try and bait out something. They don't have blue, so I wasn't sure what they have. I thought they might do some shenanigans with Ghost Quarters. We'll get a reload in, we go in with our 2 guys, and our opponent uses Settle the Wreckage, which seems a bit premature. I probably would have saved that for the Niv, so we'll get the black and the red we just discussed. We'll go to the Dark Pool, and because it doesn't target, we can drain him down to 13. Let's discard our other cover. Smeagol is useless here because he targets a player, so we can't use him. They start making 2/2s. They consider their options and pass. Right, so we run out Frodo, start our ring journey. Ring goes to level 1, put it on Niv, then we'll play Gladriel. That'll give us some more blockers and let us get Niv going and find 2 more lands on top that we'll keep. Put that into play off her trigger. Draw a card, we've got another land now. We'll get rid of a Smeagol because we can't use him with that Leyline of Sanctity on the field. And then we'll pass the turn. In the next step, they use Ghost Quarter on their indestructible land to basically filter. Another land for them to freeze. They still have a Ghost Quarter, which they activate now. Another one of their indestructible lands. Again, they're just filtering through. They have blue now, so they seem to be 4-5 color landfall. They go up to freeze here, and they have a Void Rend to kill our Niv Mizzet. Now, there's some cheeky shenanigans we can do here. They put Yorion into hand here, so let's use Niv Mizzet. Sorry, first we'll drop the land, and I consider what my options are. So I'm going to use Niv Mizzet, and Niv Mizzet finds us a Feodin. Now, fun fact about the ring, the 4th level doing 3 damage to each opponent, that triggers every time you deal damage. So double strike, it does it twice. So basically here, we can make Frodo essentially do 8 damage from an attack, which is absolutely crazy. We abuse this a lot in this video. Frodo goes in, we loot, find another Niv, but we'll discard a Smeagol. 1 damage, and then, yep. That's absolutely awesome. Feodin's better than I thought, believe me. Right, so I'm putting this very quick match in the middle here as kind of a disclaimer as to why you should not make this deck. Now, obviously, we get obliterated in the mulligan here, but this is us in the casual queues going up against the best deck in the format, which is Alchemy Jund. So we will just basically see what our opponent does here. Another Abundant Harvest, finds their Inquisitions, and I call it Alchemy Jund because it's built around that free drop alchemy creature, the one that every turn you get a free spell from your graveyard. Yep. So, as I said, not much to say about this. We get Inquisition. It's very Jundy, to put it that way. If you're looking for a deck to level up / grind with, I would... Yeah, here he is. Jostler. See, basically every turn he goes up a level and gets back one of his spells. Put him down to 14. Not having removal here is very key. We are going to be in trouble. But like I said, Jund is probably our worst matchup because they are just literally, well, Jund, maybe Control. We go in here, our opponent has an Orcish Bowmasters, take out our Thin Knight, block our Smeagol. We're pretty much just behind here. Umri the Collector I could use here, but I don't use it a lot in the video because, well, yeah, there's another alchemy card. I don't use it a lot because, honestly, it's very weird. It doesn't incentivize much about using it. And what I mean by that is Yorion is a blink trigger, which is amazing. Lurrus originally brought stuff back from the graveyard. Jegantha can basically tap for mana, which is always great. However, Umri just gives us a 1 mana reduction on what we choose, which makes sense because it's built around... Oh, we got into sideboarding. Basically, we take out our 1 toughness creatures and we bring in our Murderous Riders to try and survive. Spoiler alert, we do not. Again, we get hurt with the mulligans. But yeah, this is the top tier deck. If you look on Goldfish and if you look on YouTube, I know Jim Davis has played variations of this deck. I did a little research while I was trying to get back into Alchemy / Historic. Yep. So basically, this match is just as I said over. We're just gonna get grinded out with removal, and they'll just resolve a threat that we can't answer. And again, we do not have red, so we can't cast that. They have another Scion, so we're just going to concede. Sad truth is, we're just never going to win that match. Alright, our final match here for the day. We keep an interesting 2 here. Opponent starts with black, so that's very scary for us. Implies a heavy removal deck. We drop Frodo. Then we'll drop a Galadriel. This is our perfect curve. Now we can hopefully find more lands. Of course not. Nothing on top of the deck. Alright, Galadriel. Blind Flip off the top. Our opponent decides to steal that card even though we scratched to the bottom. We find the red source, which is perfect. Now we just need a black, so we'll get rid of Frodo. They play a Circuit Mender. I choose to play Fjord in here. I'm going to put the trigger on Frodo. Give him a double attack here. I consider what I'm going to do, and I'm ultimately going to put the land into play here. Attack in with both. Loot away. Ultimately put away the Reflector Mage. Now that's controversial, but I'm 90% sure this is probably some kind of heavy removal deck, like an Esper or 4-color control. Find a land here, so what we can do now is we can use Bilbo, fully level up Frodo, activate Galadriel, and activate her again with a double ring trigger, and then put Umri into hand, because I realized I hadn't played it yet in all of our matches. Right, we get a ring trigger and some damage done. They're down to 14. Opponent plays their land. They have Blood on the Snow, so yes. And from the future, I will warn you, this is board wipe tribal. If you think I'm joking, count the number of board wipes they play in this match. It gets ridiculous. Murderous Rider puts him down to 12. Circuit Mender on the field, we get hit down to 16. Consider my options here, so I go for the Triumphant Adventurer. I don't want to bounce all their creatures because they have ETBs, unless I'm going in for a lethal attack here. So play a Smeagol, play a Bloodbraid Elf, swing in with a Bloodbraid Elf. They ultimately start deciding whether or not to block. Yep, they go for it because they draw a card and we'll steal one of their lands. Mill a couple of cards off them. They swing in for 2, we let it through. Opponent plays their Murderous Rider, plays their Galadriel they stole from us, use Environmental Science to get another land. So this is where the fun begins now, because we can use the Reflector Mages to get back our own creatures that they tried to steal from us. Our deck is also pretty bulletproof from steel effects. We'll play Kydriel here because we can make an unblockable adventurer, and we'll go look through the mine again. Scry one. Keep that on top, we want more triggers. Discard another adventurer. They drain them for free. They swing in, we can block like this. So ultimately none of their creatures die, none of our creatures die. But they have the farewell. They siphon again. We're pretty bulletproof, as I said. The best they could hit off us is probably Niv, and I doubt their deck's going to have much triggers. So we'll use Smeagol to steal some stuff here. Steal their land. They play Aragon, and they pass. This is great for us, because I realise here we've got pretty much the same situation we were in before. So let's use the Reflector Mage bounce here, and then use Fjordin, and give Smeagol double strike. So this is 8 plus 6 damage. This is a lethal attack. You think I'm joking? They're down to 7 and they've got another 8 coming. How awesome was that? Probably shouldn't be that happy, but I really enjoyed that one. We run it back here. Keeping it going as I said, this is like a control heavy removal deck. So what we've got to do is basically just grind them out. Hope that we can just resolve as many threats as possible. So we'll start with the Triumphant Adventurer here. They siphon a creature off us. This is why it's great for us though, because the best they'll hit is probably just a creature that they can't trigger. Like they get Frodo, they don't have that many legends in their deck that we've seen. We'll get Pippin down for protection. Start going through the mine. We'll keep that land on top. It's not super important, but it'd be pretty good to have. They play a Solemn Simulacrum. I decided to play the tap land here. I'm going to use Pippin to give protection from creatures so I can get in unimpeded. Basically, if they're going to use their farewells or other removal things, I want them to use it away from us. They show us their sideboard card here, which is Invoke Despair. I'm guessing their sideboard must have also just been full of removal. They don't attack in again. We'll put that, play Niv. Reload our hand. Find some good hits. Choose to swing in here. We're going to use the Dark Pool to just gain a bit of life back. We have first strike on our turn, so there's nothing major going on. They do get a draw, which is unfortunate. They have a Murderous Rider for Niv. Play a land, play another Solemn Simulacrum. Start getting white, so they must have more board wipes in hand. So we just run with Smeagol into Bilbo. Let's steal some of their lands for fun. We'll make our Adventurer our Ring Bearer. And we'll complete the dungeon. Find another Niv Mizzet so we can keep grinding. Opponent starts tapping their lands here. Field of Ruining us. As I said, this is why you always run one of each basic, just in case. They use a Farewell, get rid of our treasure and all our creatures. We have a handful of creatures here, so we just need to resolve stuff. So we'll use Bloodbraid Elf, we find another Triumphant Adventurer. We'll play Fjordin, give double strike to the Bloodbraid Elf and swing in for 6. Our opponent now again has to have another board wipe here to survive, but as I've said before, this was board wipe tribal. They play a Murderous Rider, we'll resolve a Niv, see what we can find. Find some good cards. Play a land untapped. Play a Galadriel. We're going to discard 2 cards, so we get rid of Kyredi and one of our Reflector Mages. We do not want to Reflector Mage a Murderous Rider. That would be a very bad idea. They have another Invoke Despair and another Murderous Rider. And this is where I check their graveyard and just realize how much removal this deck must have. So, consider my options here. I'm going to use Frodo. Put a land on that. Smeagol. Let's just keep running out creatures and seeing if we can get somewhere. I consider what to do in the side. Galadriel's the best option. Put that on the thing. We can steal more land. Mill them. Put another land into play. We have an Aragon on top here, so we might have some legs for late game. They siphon to take our Aragon. Swing in for 2. We'll block with Galadriel. We don't want to go down lower than 5. But they have another Blood on the Snow. Get back a Rusko Clockmaker. We play our land. We go for Reflector Mage. Bounce the Rusko. Play the Bloodbraid Elf. Now we could get lucky here. We find Bilbo. If we had a Ring Tempting card in hand, we could have won the game here with the Bloodbraid attack. But they had another Murderous Rider anyway, so it wasn't going to happen. Ultimately, right, play a Triumphant Adventurer here. They have another Siphon Insight. Our opponent has the third Farewell. Has their own Bloodbraid Elf, and at this point I've seen enough. Board White Tribal is annoying me, so we'll go to the next match. We're going to run it back and we're going to just go pure unadulterated aggro here. At this point I'm also very tilted. My first test match, which we won't see in the recording, was against Mono Black Wastenot, and my opponent had a perfect 7 every time. This hand is great for us, so we can go into a turn 3 Galadriel. We need white mana desperately though to cast our spells. So we play our Galadriel, opponent taps out on 3. They consider their options here. Ah yes, they Necromentia. They take out our Niv Mizzet, which would be, a great, terrible hit, except we hit pretty damn well here. So we'll put Umri into hand and attack for free. They play a Solemn Simulacrum. We find a Bilbo, put him on the field, make him the Ring Bearer. We find our black mana, which is super important for us here. You'll see why when we keep going. I'm going to attack with Galadriel, our opponent doesn't do anything. They invoke Despair, so in response, I'm going to sack Bilbo, which will trigger a Ring Tempt. Put that on Galadriel. Now with double white, we can go Frodo Baggins. We can tempt him, so we can get a Galadriel trigger. We find no lands, so we'll put those to the bottom, see if we can hit anything off the blind reveal. Nope. Play a Kyrelli. We put the ring back on Galadriel, and we can use his trigger to make her unblockable. We gotta discard Umri, I'm afraid, putting them down to 8. They play a Rusko Clockmaker, play a land, play another Solemn Simulacrum, and here's where I finally get my good luck with this deck. So, we shock in the breeding pool. We play our... We consider what we're going to do for a bit, and ultimately decide I gotta go for the win. So, Reflector Mage, bounce a Solemn Simulacrum. Now, we can grab the Bloodbraid Elf, and depending on what we hit here, we could be in great position. And it's a Reflector Mage, that's beyond perfect. We bounce the other Solemn. We go to combat, swing in, Kyrelli will make something unblockable, and yep, that goes well. Needs a bit of work, but a lot of fun. Hope you enjoyed.